Welcome back to Man Cave Movies. Again, I'm your host, DeGarian Andrews. This is my Man Cave, and these are my movies. Today, I'll be discussing the 1996 film A Thin Line Between Love and Hate, starring Martin Lawrence, Lyd Whitfield, and Academy Award winner Regina King. I'd like to start out by saying the way I view this film as an adult is totally different from the way I viewed it when I saw it as a teen. Yes, I saw it as a teen. It is a rated R film. I probably should not have been watching it, but hey, I was suspended from school. I had a lot of movies. I wanted to watch it, so I did. Um, and some people might say, well, naturally, you feel different about the film now as an adult as opposed to how you felt about it as a child. But that's not necessarily true. When we age, some of us, we mature. We have totally different moral compasses now. We have outlooks that are vastly different than those outlooks when we were children. And now I said most of us because there are some people who are stuck in this warped perception of reality. There are some people that still subscribe to these antiquated gender roles and marriage and relationships and the pursuit of a relationship. And I don't view things like through that lens anymore. When I was a child, I thought, oh, she is a psycho. This woman is crazy. What is her issue? Just move on. As an adult viewing this film, I said, yeah, Darnell was the problem. The first point, and I took notes on this one. This is my first one where I had like a large chunk of notes because I didn't want to miss anything. Um, I want to start by saying society is quick to call a black woman crazy, then hold a man accountable. Please do not crucify me in the comments, but we often view Brandi as unhinged. She is emotionally unstable. She's dangerous. She's obsessed. But never do we once say, well, Darnell was wrong. He was not just the innocent victim that wanted to have a little fun. Darnell pursued Brandi even when she rejected him. He showed up at her place of employment on more than one occasion. This woman told him, no, I'm not looking for a relationship. No, I am not interested. Please leave me alone. He pursued her like he was Pepe Le Pew or Steve Urkel pursuing Laura Winslow. He was relentless in his pursuit and he would not stop. So when they got into this relationship, situationship, and he saw that there were greener pastures elsewhere, he wanted to drop Brandi like a hot tamale. After doing all of these things to pursue her, naturally, for any woman, I would assume now, the woman may not handle things like Brandi handled them, but for any woman, I would assume that would be a lot to play with someone's emotions, to objectify this woman, to over sexualize these women. I assume that would be a lot. So that is one point and one reason why I think he is the real villain in this story. He did that to Brandi. He was also doing it to other women in the film. They just did not know about each other. But he was a major womanizer. Now, I know this was 1996. The climate of the country was different. It was kind of like a badge of honor to have more than one woman, to sleep with more than one woman. But the way he objectified this woman and really used her as if she was a piece of meat was something that was not good. It was deplorable. So as a child, I'm watching like, yeah, she should just get over it. Yeah, it's not that big a deal. No, I would not like for a woman to play with my emotions in that way. So that's the first point. That is reason number one that he is not the victim. He's actually the villain. I'll have more when we return. Stay with me. Welcome back to Man Cave Movies. I'm your host, DeGarian Andrews. On this episode, we are discussing the 1996 film, A Thin Line Between Love and Hate. When I spoke with one of my fraternity brothers and told him that I was discussing this movie, he immediately said, "Oh, Brandi was crazy. That woman was unhinged." So we had some dialogue about the stance that I was taking with this episode today. And he jokingly said, "Oh, you're going to have some brothers in your comments. They're going to be upset." And, the truth comes out in jest. So I know there was a bit of truth to it, but I am cognizant of the fact that this is a unpopular opinion, but it's my opinion. It's my podcast. So I'm going to go with it. Another point that I'd like to make is Darnell created this monster that he became so afraid of. He did this to Brandi. He intentionally manipulated her emotionally, sexually, and psychologically. Like I said earlier, he pursued this woman. He showed up at her place of employment. He pretended to be someone interested in real estate. He showered her with the gift, the lalik that he brought her, the baby bird. He was relentless, and he got this woman to drop her guard, to lower her guard rather, and fall head over heels for him, and then he just snatched the rug out from under her. And a point that my line brother made was, well, Brandi killed a man in the past. Yeah, she did kill a man. She killed a man that was physically and verbally abusive to her. Now, the film does not dive into everything surrounding that murder. She just admits to him that he was abusive and she killed him, which I like to think if it were not in an act of self-defense, Brandi would have been in prison. She wouldn't have been the high-profile realtor broker that she was. So because she was not in prison, I deem it self-defense. Now, he knew these things, and he still said, well, I love you. If he was abusive, you had to kill his ass. And after they slept together, he immediately gets on the phone. He calls Bobby Brown's character, tells what has happened, and is bragging about it. It was just another notch on his belt. She was just another woman on the totem pole. So he created this monster. Therein he decided to play victim. Not the victim, he is the villain. Another point is Darnell only took responsibility for his behavior when his life was threatened. Spoiler alert, if you have not seen the film, you might want to pause it now and run to, I don't know, Netflix or find it streaming somewhere. So Darnell doesn't take responsibility until his life is threatened. When Brandi kidnaps him and she has a gun to his head, he's very apologetic. You don't have to do this. And that's when we get the monologue where Brandi says a man takes a woman, he plays with her, he gets her dirty, and then he puts on the shelf because he doesn't want to play with her anymore. That's when he decides to take responsibility. Before it got to this point, he could have manned up and he could have taken some responsibility. When she showed up at his house making the burnt bacon and the biscuit batter, he could have had an adult conversation. Hey, listen, this is not what I thought it was. I was in this space. I was in a broken place before. I'm coming out of that space. I apologize. I know you've been hurt before. Something along those lines, instead of casting her aside, making her out to be this crazy person. Just all of the things that he did to add fuel to the fire instead of owning up and taking responsibility for his actions. So he never did that. He never took responsibility. That is another reason why I believe wholeheartedly that he was not the victim. He was the villain. More when we return. Welcome back to Man Cave Movies, where today I am discussing the film A Thin Line Between Love and Hate, starring Martin Lawrence, Lynn Whitfield, and Regina King. The final point I want to make about this film and why I believe that Darnell is not the victim, but the villain, and Brandi is actually a victim, but Brandi is not the only victim. Regina King's character, Mia, is also a victim. While Mia is actually the object of Darnell's affection, she is also lied to by omission. He doesn't mention that he has started this relationship or this situationship with Brandi to Mia, and he had started to pursue Brandi before he even knew Mia was back in town. So he tried to compartmentalize these two relationships, I guess, to see which one was going to be the quicker burn, knowing full well and all this time that he had eyes for Mia. So she is also a victim. And I would be curious to know, after all of this was said and done, when Darnell finally got out of the hospital, what type of conversations would Mia have with him? Would she want to know the full story? Would she still want to be with him after what happened? Because ultimately, when they started their relationship, the budding relationship, he was still being stalked and pursued by Brandi at that point. So ultimately, Darnell was not only a womanizer and a villain, he was also a liar. And he put the lives of several people in danger. Brandi burned up the club with people in it. Uh, he put T, Bobby Brown's character, in danger. He put Nia in danger because she was about to shoot Nia until he burst out the closet at the end. So there were a lot of things going on where in today's society, if this movie was released, it probably would not bode well with many people just because of the misogyny and the chauvinism and the objectifying of women. Now, I said all that to say this is a one of my favorite films, really funny, and I view the film for what it is and what it was back then, which is why I'm still able to go back to it and enjoy it and laugh at certain parts. But yeah, Darnell, Dylan, not victim, and I will leave you viewers with this one question. At what point do we stop calling Brandi crazy and start asking why Darnell thought he could use someone's heart with no consequences? And that may be applicable to the lives of some of my viewers out there. So you have to be careful because there is, in fact, a thin line between love and hate. Thank you so much for coming back to Man Cave Movies in this new year. Stay with me. I have a lot of great things in store for you. As long as you stay, I'll keep churning them out.